Tasting Anarchy, your wine and liberty podcast. Join Mason and Jake each week as they try new wines and discover how much government is in your drink. I mean, he's definitely like a weird libertarian, but he's a lot of fun to hang out with. Like the type of people that are attracted to libertarianism are so interesting.
I mean, we are kind of like I always kind of wonder. Like, I wish I could see what people would think about us.
Yeah,
you know, like do we come off that weird?
I think I'm very likable, and this guy was very likable too. But I think that for sure we come off as kind of unusual.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, like, there's the difference. Like, I don't mean like likable, because that's the thing is, like, there are very few people like these days that I don't. It's not that I don't find likable. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There are people like I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be around that person again.
Right.
But it's rare where I'm like, I just hate that person.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I think like one at the old libertarian meetings, there were very few people. Like, there was that Napoleon guy once who I just found insufferable, and because he wouldn't stop talking about Napoleon. Do you remember that guy?
No.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it was one of Matt Smith's friends, and
okay.
He came in. He's a nice guy, but he just wouldn't. Everything, like, we would like say something, and he'd be like, and he called Napoleon something weird, like the general or something like that. Like, he would refer to him not as Napoleon, but as like the general or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was so bizarre, and he was just a very unusual person.
Huh.
Yeah.
Have you had a Trebbiano or
No.
Trebbiano?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's apparently a very widely planted Italian white wine grape.
You know, I don't think because on that big marathon sale at Last Bottle Wines, they had tons of Italians coming up, and I just didn't recognize the names of what they were, and I was like, I don't know what this is, and during the marathon they don't put up details really of it. They're just like, here it is, and it's just the bottle and the name.
I think most Italians are blends, so you kind of run into that too.
Yeah, well,
because this is a from the Splash Wines. This is one of those.
Oh, okay.
That I got, and I've never knowingly had this variety before, but according to Wikipedia, it's like extremely widely planted, but it's also, like, according to this, like 100%.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and just get right into it then.
Yeah.
Mason, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking, and I am going to butcher the pronunciation more than normal because this isn't Spanish this time. It's Italian.
Nice.
So the winery, or the winery on the bottle, is Primi Soli, and it's a Trebbiano, Grande Italian. It doesn't have a year. It's 11% alcohol ABV. Got it as part of that Splash Wines package that I got from my parents for my birthday. So what is today, Jacob? Like April 28th?
Yeah, that's right. April 28th.
I'm still enjoying the 18 bottles that I got from January 25th, and I think you have purchased more wine, excluding the great sale that you're going to tell us about.
Yeah.
In a little bit, I think you've purchased more wine than I don't know how to say this. Basically, you've bought more than 18 bottles out, excluding those other ones you got on the sale. And I haven't bought any wine that wasn't cooking wine. Oh, yeah. I didn't drink.
I have so much wine right now. I bought a new wine rack.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't come yet. It's a wall-mounted wine rack because the cupboard, I just don't have enough space in the cupboard for this. And I think maybe if it's like in my face and I see it, I'll stop buying more.
Possibly.
I hope that that's the case.
Yeah. So this one, my wife thought it was really sweet. Me, it's got has some acidity to it on the first one. When I first had it, I also had it unchilled, so I just had it at room temperature in the house, and it was cool enough in the house. But now that I have it chilled, it's kind of muted.
Interesting.
But the back has a quick description of the grape. It's an ancient grape variety that's given new life. And this aromatic, refreshing, and zesty dry white, and it is dry, has good acidity. Yeah, pretty good for accompanying most food types. But try this wine with chunky fish dishes, richly sauced pastas, or on its own, served chilled. I would definitely say served chilled. Probably a good idea. And pastas, yeah, especially heavily sauced ones.
Yeah.
Because I think the acidity would pull a lot of the sauce remnants off your tongue.
Mm-hmm. I think we actually have had this before, now that I'm looking at it in the Wikipedia article. So it's Trebbiano, and it's a native Italian grape, but it also goes by St. Emilion, White Hermitage, and White Shiraz. So I think we've both... Well, I wouldn't say we both have, but I think if we ever go to like a party that has like Yellowtail or something like that, the White Shiraz from Australia is probably this. That's going to be my guess. I don't know that for sure, but I have had whites from Saint Emilion in France, which I think is in Bordeaux, in that region of France, and my guess would be this is part of that white blend, the Bordeaux, like a Bordeaux Blanc blend.
Yeah, not to derail our interesting little research there.
Yeah.
I Google searched white Shiraz.
Okay.
But the first suggestion from Google was white Sriracha, which...
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of made me want to research that.
Yeah, I wonder what that is.
But I'll leave that aside for now, and hopefully I'll remember when we're done recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... this is one of those ones that Splash is sold out of it. The Vino had a price estimate, and it was greater than 10, but less than 40. But it was closer to the 10 range, but not so close that I'd be like, oh, it's $12. It wasn't a clear, easy guess. I'm not saying that this is a bad bottle of wine. I'm not saying it's a good bottle of wine. I don't know the grape well enough.
Okay.
My wife made, oh my goodness, corned beef and cabbage and potatoes and carrots. And I wanted to get a red out of the selection, but because I didn't have the higher step stool, because Jacob, in my house where my laundry room is, I've got that shelf above it.
Yeah.
That's where I've been keeping the wine.
Oh, okay, that's a good
Not
place.
the greatest temperature control.
Well, probably not, but it's out of the way. It's not a bad place.
Yeah, and so I didn't have the right step stool to get up there really easily. Plus, my wife was taking her laundry out of the dryer, so I was like, instead of killing both of us by raining bottles on us, I'll just grab the closest white.
Oh, that's a good
That's
idea.
what I got.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, based on this, I know I'm missing stuff. It's kind of like Pinots. I know I'm missing something. Yeah. And I'd like to explore it more.
Okay. Well, there are a lot for both you and me. I think that we get something that it is interesting. It's complex in its own way, but because it's new to us, we don't really see it yet. And I run across that occasionally with one where, like, I'm like, I can tell this is a high quality wine, and sometimes it takes, particularly with red wine, sometimes it takes it to be open for a little while. White wines are not exactly the same way. But for like some of the Cab Francs that I've gotten, they're a little bit more expensive. Like, I get it in the first glass, I'm kind of like, I'm not really so stoked about this. And then after it's been opened up for a little while, it gets oxidized a little bit. Some of the aromas start coming out, and it becomes much more interesting, much more complex. And I wonder what the equivalent to like decanting a red wine would be for a white wine, or if there is one. That might be something good for us to ask
Jackson, yeah.
And
I think as John Davidañez is branching out a little more into whites, it seems, at least because he's doing a Grigio, right?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, he's doing a Grigio. I'd like to kind of see what he thought on that too.
Yeah.
Kind of from that standpoint of like, hey, you don't normally do this. Like, what are your thoughts on like proper serving? But I definitely know, like, with a lot of the whites that I drink and stuff like that, you definitely get something more when they've been open for a little bit. Sometimes the acidity seems to come down, and I don't know if there's some sort of oxidization of these acidic elements. That's what I notice a lot, but that also might be because generally with a white, like, most of them are such low alcohol. It's kind of like, okay, I know I'm not hammered, where you're like, oh, I've had like 6 glasses of this, not Merlot, Zinfandel or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's pretty alcoholic. It's not that, but like it's the acidity and the sometimes the sweetness, depending on the white variety. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I'm over the high flavor, and now I'm tasting the rest of it. So I would say, how did you pronounce the grape again?
I said Trebbiano.
I think that's much closer, if not exactly right.
Okay.
Because, like, when I look at that, I can't make that in my head sound that.
Okay.
But when I hear you say it, I'm like, that's exactly how I should be trying to say it.
I mean, that's what it looks like to me, but it's kind of, your wife actually probably could read one of those, like, pronunciation, how they have that sometimes.
Yeah, the style guide or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's Trebbiano, though. It doesn't have a style guide on the wiki page, but I vaguely recall maybe hearing Elizabeth from Wine for Normal People talk about this on one of the episodes. And so I think that's how you say it. It's Trebbiano. According to Wikipedia, this is actually a cross between a pink-skinned Italian wine grape called Mazzanio Rosa, and one of the other whites that I think is pretty good, actually, and I think you and I have had a few of them, is Gewürztraminer, the German varietal, which is, I guess...
I'm surprised you like that variety, because it's generally like a dessert sweet wine variety.
Yeah, it can be. I have like a weird relationship, I think, with sweetness. I'm okay with it being very fruity and sweet on the sweet end, like off dry. But for some reason, a lot of the sweeter reds come with this additional. The only way I can describe it is like is a rotten flavor. Like it feels like it's rotten. Or tastes like it.
This is one of those things where, like, so my wife and I have been watching the Great British Baking Show or Cook-Off. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's a real popular show in there.
Yeah, it's. I didn't realize how popular it was.
Yeah,
like because it's on PBS, and no one in my circle is really talking about it.
Right.
But Noel Fielding.
Yeah, Noel Fielding.
Yeah, he's like the host on. Like a sec, because it was originally on BBC and they moved to Channel 4.
Oh, okay.
So
he's one of my favorite British comedians. He's hysterical.
He's one of the hosts.
That's pretty cool. I might have to check that out.
I'm telling you, you would love it.
Okay.
Like, I think there's just enough competition and there's just enough Britishness in the competition.
Okay.
And like, because the first season that's on Netflix, so if you still have a Netflix subscription, it's pretty much there.
Okay.
The people are so interesting because it's so, there's several people from India who've immigrated. There's, it's just an interesting mix of people. But there's something about European sweetness and American sweetness.
Yeah.
And like when you have something that's like traditional European food that is made sweet and it's made to be in the European style, it's definitely sweet,
right?
But it's like sweet with cardamom or sweet with ginger.
Yeah,
sweetness isn't the focus,
right?
It's the accent. Whereas in American things, a lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times, sweetness is the purpose.
Yeah,
everything else is built around the sweetness.
Well, this is something I think you and I learned, possibly from a brewer. I don't remember who we learned this from, but. That a lot of in the beer world, a lot of European beers that are exported to the U.S. are made sweeter with various types of syrup to fit the American palate, because Americans do typically like things much sweeter than Europeans.
Yeah,
and one of the lambics that I used to really like, I can't remember who makes it, but they have peach lambic and raspberry and all that sort of stuff. They do still have peach and raspberry and all that sort of stuff, but I think that in Belgium they don't add peach syrup and they don't add raspberry syrup. The process and the yeast is what gives it those flavors. And then I guess when they tried to sell it originally in the US, it kind of fell flat because people are like, well, I don't taste the sweetness of peach or whatever, so they end up adding syrup to it.
Yeah, those are very good. They're very good in like And that's the thing is, like, you and I aren't very big. Like, I enjoy sweeter things than you do normally.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't like overly sweet things most of the time.
Yeah.
And, like, I really do love those lambics.
Yeah.
Because I know the ones you're talking about. And my wife, who isn't, she likes sweet stuff, but she's not like a sweet het. Like, you know,
Right.
she's not the, like, everything must be sweet sort of person. She
Yeah.
does really like savory and salty and those things. She really likes those, but I'd be really interested in going to Belgium and drinking the Belgian ones.
Yeah. Well, you know, this kind of goes on to sort of the next topic of this is I do have a beer tonight, and I have 2 wines that I kind of want to review. But my sister, who is a beer person and who I recently visited and didn't get an episode with yet, but we just didn't have time while I was there.
I will tell you, I am so the listeners can understand Jacob and I's level of friendship. We often tell each other what we're planning to do in the future, but we often don't always remember necessarily to say, oh yeah, that's happening now.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying Jacob didn't tell me he was going last weekend to visit his sister. I just stopped hearing from him. And, you know, Jacob usually texts me first because he's an hour behind, so I don't want to wake him up. And I know he puts his phone on silent, but, you know, you still have that, like, I don't want to wake my friend up sort of mentality.
Yeah,
and then I get engrossed in work, and then you're getting up, and then, you know, that's usually how our day starts.
Right.
So I sent a text, didn't hear back from you, but I sent it overnight, which a lot of times that'll happen.
Yeah.
And then you'll respond with something that's like, I know he read the text, but he's talking about something else now because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just how we are. And then I didn't hear from you for like 36 hours or so.
Well, I mean, it was close to, I mean, probably close to 2 days because it was weird. I had the most sporadic reception there.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. And it's a city. I mean, it's, you know, it's not a...
This is the funny thing. These are the things that went through my mind. It's like, did I somehow offend him? And then I was like, no, Jacob would have told me if I offended him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Now, like, I could imagine somehow messing up to the point where you wouldn't tell me and you would basically ghost me, but it would kind of be like that. Like, I just shot a baby in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you'd probably be calling the cops and, like, trying to detain me. You know, like, you would physically, like, make it known that, like, something had gone wrong.
Yeah.
So then, like, I honestly thought that you had gotten hurt or were really sick or possibly dead, and no one had any idea how to get a hold of me to just let me know.
Yeah.
So I took to looking on Twitter to see if the Childerberg or the Tasting Anarchy Twitters had posted anything.
Well, even those were fairly dead too, because I mean, I was going through and
you didn't have reception.
Yeah, I had such bad reception. It was weird.
It was to the point where my wife texted your wife to see what was up, and then you got to a point where you just had enough reception, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm in, you know, with my sister," and I'm like, "Oh yeah,
right,
that makes total sense." It's the Easter weekend.
Yeah,
he's went to see family, perfectly fine. I knew he was going to Nebraska at some point.
Right.
I just didn't remember if you had told me, "Hey, I'm going over Easter" or not. But I was just, you know, kind of that like, what have I done?
Yeah,
is he okay? And I'm thinking like, I'm pretty sure your wife has my number. I'm pretty sure people would figure out somehow to get a hold of me if something had happened.
Oh, they would have. And Victoria pointed it out to me because she was like, "Hey, Ashley texted me and said you haven't texted Mason in a long time." And I went, "No, I texted him a couple times." And I went and looked, and they were all still in like
pending.
No, like sending. It was just like sending ...
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh." And then so I canceled all of them,
and
then like resent I think the last one. Because I was like, none of these conversations even make sense to me anymore. So I was like, I don't know what these mean. So, but you know, while I was out there, what was cool? I mean, it was a fun trip. I like seeing my sister. It's a small town. It's like in my mind, Nebraska was way lamer than it turned out to be.
Yeah, that's the Heartland is one of those things where I don't think the Heartland is a very fun place to visit if you don't have someone who lives there.
Yeah.
Because it's just like Virginia Beach and Norfolk, where there's a lot of sprawl. There are big buildings. There are clear downtowns. But you don't know, you know, it's like if you go in downtown Norfolk, you end up in Scotty Quick's, which isn't necessarily a bad place.
Yeah,
But it's not what you and I would want to see.
exactly.
And then this is your flavor of the place, and then you could have gone to Todd Urick's.
Right, and Todd
just
Urick's
down
is
the
real
street.
good. Yeah.
Or to Omar's Carriage House, which is
which
you know,
is really fantastic.
these phenomenal restaurants that have a lot of local flavor, but with that mix of these people aren't from here, like, you know, Omar's from Morocco or wherever, and it's like, no, you could have these amazing experiences like within a 5.5, 10-minute walk,
right,
and a comfortable and safe walk. But you know, downtown Norfolk, you wouldn't necessarily know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's sort of how she lives in Lincoln. So like downtown Lincoln is like, it's an old railroad town. And I guess it's the capital of the state. I probably knew that when I was younger, but like for some reason I thought Omaha was their capital. Probably because it's a bigger city.
To be honest, I don't think I would have guessed Lincoln.
Yeah.
But as soon as you said it, I'm like, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
But I still don't know if that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's, you know, it's not a big city, but it's a pretty neat old timey like downtown, like old West downtown. And a lot of good restaurants down there. Big nightlife. It's a college town, so there's a lot of like college people out and doing stuff. No free parking though, which was bizarre. Because like even here in Dallas, like we live uptown, and there's free parking all over the place. And I mean, when you go way downtown, there's a lot of paid lots, but you can find free parking.
Well, I think cities evolve in two ways. They evolve where there's free parking, and then they evolve where there's not. And you hit that mix of like, you know, like places like Norfolk. There are plenty of places to park for free. It's just not convenient.
Yeah.
And then you hit places like Virginia Beach where you basically park anywhere.
Yeah.
And like it's very hard to Virginia Beach is very hard to know where it's not free if it's a deck.
Right.
But then it's like, oh wait, I could just park at Dick's. Like especially if you're in downtown Virginia Beach, it's like, or at the mall. It's like, I'm not getting towed.
Right,
like,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this was not like that at all. It was all the garages were and fortunately my sister's boyfriend, he had a pass that his work gives him. So I just used that to park because we were staying downtown, and it was the weekend, so he wasn't using it. Yeah. And you know, just a neat old town. You know, she works at it's a chain restaurant called Hopcat. And I don't think they have them out. They don't have them in Texas, I don't think, and they don't have them.
I was going to say they don't have them here. It's probably like a Heartland thing.
It could be. A friend of hers was flying out to go open one up in Michigan, or Minnesota maybe, and so I think it is like a Heartland thing. But they have like 100 beers on draft, and they rotate 30 of them every week.
So I would never be able to get a beer because like we went to Jesse's on Friday.
Oh, I love Jesse's.
They were out of Negro Modelo on tap.
That's a bummer.
And then the time before that, they were out of Negro Modelo on tap. And I just told them, like, look, what do you have on tap? Because, you know, Jacob, my classic, I'll order what you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Continuously.
Always, always.
It's like I go into your sister and be like, Mason, I hate to tell you this, we're out of 100 beers.
Yeah.
It's like,
so you came at the wrong time.
Drink well drinks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it was a cool restaurant, and Jory is really into Belgians. Kind of to get back to that, and so she was there. I wanted to drink local while I was there, so I drank a couple of different Nebraska IPAs and a couple of Nebraska saisons, and she's also real into saisons right now. And the way they do it, actually, I think much similar. Is it much more similar? I guess it would be much more similar to like North France in the Belgian region saisons, where they're very farmy. And so really like a lot of grassy taste to it. Really good, really very smooth. I enjoyed
like them. The New Zealand Pinot Grigio we had, Silver Fern.
Right.
Yeah, like that heavy grass notes.
Yes.
And it sounds like it wouldn't be good.
Yeah,
and then a Pinot, not really, but like in a saison, what was the like? Do you remember the kind of the texture mouthfeel of them? Like the liquid.
Yeah, both of them were viscous but frothy. So
like almost chewy.
Yeah, kind of. But like so it was a lighter I wouldn't even say light bodied, but it was very frothy. So it was like had a lot of foam and stuff like that. but it wasn't like crisp like a cider or like a sparkling wine or something like that.
Yeah, because that's not a foam necessarily. That's like a bubble. Like this
Right,
is more
right.
like I guess froth is the only way. It's kind of like a whipped egg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and very good though. And so I'll probably have some minis where I review some of those beers.
Mm-hmm.
But she was kind of talking to me a lot about the just Belgian style lambics that she likes that were either Belgian style or from Belgium, and kind of gave me some taste of a flight. You know, she just got a flight while we were there, and she was just like, I like these, and like so we just, you know, I don't normally share drinks with people, but with my family,
we have shared 5 drinks.
Yeah, I think so, and usually it's I'll let you taste it after I've had a taste or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
or no, I had 3 of these beforehand. You have to try this.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that was a lot of fun. We tried a lot of different things. I bought, and actually I was a little bit disappointed in this bottle of wine because I didn't think it was a very good representation of Santa Barbara Pinot Noir. So I got a bottle of Santa Barbara Pinot Noir for her to try, and we opened it, and I just was like, it's good, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and it was kind of expensive, actually. So I was a little bummed out about that.
You're talking about a Santa Barbara Noir,
Yeah.
in Nebraska.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It would be like a Santa Barbara Noir here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to get it here to have that specificness to it. Like, I mean, if you were in Vegas, like I'd expect it to be, probably $10 cheaper.
Yeah, probably.
It's like I really wish I'd photographed the winery, the Noir I had, because like Kassam and I had a Noir at an event on Thursday you know about.
Yeah.
And his best Noir either of like I've ever had, and Kassam was like, this doesn't taste like a Noir. But that's the thing, is like it clearly wasn't a Noir.
Oh,
like,
okay.
The overall flavors, it was like, no, this is too on the nose. Like, this isn't delicate. Like, this is got stuff going on.
Well, I mean, a lot of the California Pinot Noirs are not delicate at all. Like Lodi is like really aggressive for Pinot Noir.
But I think that's the Zin.
Yeah, I think it is. The way they make it.
Well, I was going to say, I think with Lodi, like you have the mass production techniques, and people are slowly switching away from that. It's kind of the feeling I get from the idea of Lodi, because Lodi is kind of low class and low rent.
Yeah, that's true.
As an area, not necessarily as a winery region. But so Lodi is coming up, and they're moving away from high production techniques. But some of the people are experimenting because they have a lot of money from high production techniques, and possibly making more aggressive like Noir than you would, because they're also trying to mirror the Zin style.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's true. And this is something that happened in Texas. And I think Texas, this will kind of get into my wine for the night, and I'll go back and review my beer, and then I'll review I'll go into 2 of my wines for the night. But the thing that happened in Texas was back in the 70s. I may have told you this story before, and I may have told listeners this story before. Back in the 70s, when Texas did grow grapes for wine, but it was usually bulk grapes for filling out other wines from California or wherever. And they grew most of them up near Lubbock and the Texas High Plains region. And some people kind of decided, well, we think we can actually grow good wine here, and so they started doing that. But one of the things that they did is because a lot of them didn't really have a huge amount of experience in growing good wine grapes, so they hired consultants from California. And so what did the California consultants say? They came, they said, you want to grow Merlot, you want to grow Zinfandel, you want to grow Cabernet Sauvignon, you want to grow these things. And that really wasn't necessarily the grapes for Texas.
Well, at least not those areas of Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Not those areas of Texas. And, now, once I'll come back to that later. But, yeah, so for those areas of Texas, not necessarily the greatest grapes. So it took a long time, I think, for Texas to start discovering what they were best at growing. And that is kind of what brings me to the wine I'm sipping on tonight, which is called Sketch. It's from, I don't think this is pretentious exactly, but I thought it was very funny. So it's this organization or a winery, I guess, called Vinovium. So it's Vinovium, Vinovium.
All right. Yeah, I think that's probably the closest we'll get to what they're trying to say.
So what they do is they make wines. They don't grow their own grapes. They're just winemakers. But what I thought was funny about it was that they call themselves also a negociant, which I thought was very strange, considering that's a very French thing.
Yeah, isn't that like a consortium?
It's like the guy who like buys the wine and then afterwards blends it and then sells it again.
So not to throw it, because John doesn't do this.
Yeah.
But I could see taking and I kind of like horse piss wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And John's is definitely not that. I mean, we haven't had it, but we know.
That he cares about it. Yeah.
But I could see taking the 2015 variety of this Zin is just too aggressive.
Yeah.
And then blending it with a noir and a Shiraz to try to take some of the bite out, but put it back with the Shiraz, that blending technique where it's like, look, they just couldn't ever sell this.
Right.
They just screwed up. So I'm going to blend it.
Yeah.
So I could see that kind of working in the American style, especially from a place like Texas, where you have inconsistent weather with people who are still learning how to grow in Texas. Because there are people who know how to grow in Texas very well.
Yeah.
But there are enough people piling on where it's like, look, hey, this is good, but you can buy the same thing from California and it's way more consistent.
Yeah, and cheaper too usually. And that's one of the things that I've noticed with the higher end Texas wines that are great wines. You are going to pay a premium for the really good ones, and this is not an exception. This is a fantastic wine. Again, it's called Sketch. It's the winemaker is Randy Hester, and I'm not sure what an artist is, but the artist is Mila Sketch.
Is the bottle fancy?
No, not really. I mean, it's got kind of like a cool gold leaf on it, but yeah, it's not super fancy or anything. So I'm not really sure why, but it's called Sketch. It's very, very good. It's $42 a bottle.
Okay,
so not cheap.
So one of the things that I don't think you mentioned is what type of wine it is.
All right, I'm getting into that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm jumping.
So it is a blend. It's a red blend.
Okay.
It's a very interesting red blend. It is 65% Tempranillo.
Ooh.
I think the best grape that I've had so far that they grow in Texas is Tempranillo. Or possibly Viognier is up there and maybe Albarino on the white side. But Tempranillo for sure on the red side. From all the ones that I've had, this is the Texas grape. It's Spanish. It's similar climates in a lot of ways, and it does really well. This is a high plain Tempranillo from the Rusty Dutton family vineyard.
I like that.
So very specific.
Like
yep. And
I think I also like that because it makes me think of Rusty Shackelford.
Right. Rusty Shackelford.
Shackelford.
Yeah.
Rusty Shackelford.
Then 25%. I have not heard of this varietal, or possibly I have, and I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. Alicante Bouchette. So it's.
I'm betting they're probably using. There's probably another name.
Yeah. Where
you've seen it in a blend, and they're just picking a specific name, maybe to go with a certain theme or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, and then 10% Petite Syrah.
Okay.
Which we've heard of, and that's the
Petit.
Yeah, Petit had it, and that is a very, very common way to add structure to a red wine, because Petit Syrah does tend to be a little bit more tannic and aggressive and acidic, and that kind of can fill out a lot of that, a lot of structure that may be lacking from something else. So,
I'd really like to get a mid-range $20 bottle of pure Petit or Petit Syrah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want somebody who has spent years crafting it, but I don't want somebody who is just like, I grew this and I put it in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want somebody who's like still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'd be curious to try that also.
Yeah, because I want to know the underlying structure it's providing.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, Tempranillo, like, it has such a great structure to it.
Yeah.
But it is also very elusive.
Yeah, and it can be. I mean, like you get a lot of interesting flavors from Tempranillo. You can get things like ripe plum, but you could even get like sometimes vanilla and tobacco from it.
Yeah, tobacco, leather. Like
leather,
you can kind of get like, and that's the thing is like I think old world Tempranillo, because it's so often in blend.
Yeah,
and it wasn't, and this is the kind of great thing about like European growers. They know it's going to grow. Unlike in California where you're like, I'm going to put down these vines.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put down these vines in like, I'm 30, like I'm 50 miles east of Lodi.
Yeah.
You have no idea if wine's going to work there.
Yeah. No,
whereas like I'm putting in new vineyards on this hill that the last vineyard burned down 30 years ago.
Right.
In, somewhere middle of central Spain. Like, it's going to work.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's one of those things about Tempranillo. Like, the New World version is very structured. It's like, no. We're going to put this up front. And to see that they've blended Petite Syrah in it, which we know is a very structure-giving grape in its normal attack, I'd really like to see, like, we got to see, if you think about it, try to get the wiki for that other one.
Yeah, I can pull it
into
up real
the
quick.
notes.
Yeah.
And you see, because it may be one of those ones where it's like another blender, like where they specifically put in there. Maybe it's got like a more fruit flavor.
We've actually had this, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from Alejandro in Portugal.
Okay.
But it's also called Gamancha Tintoreira, and I think we've had that in a Portuguese blend before.
Can you spell the G one?
Yeah, it's Gamacha.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, and then
I was like waiting for more.
the second word is Tintorera. So Tintorera. I'm pretty sure we've seen this in something before.
Okay, let me Gamacha wine.
Yeah.
Gamache?
Garnacha Tintorera. Yeah.
Well,
wait.
So there's no R in it, right?
Gar.
Gar.
Yeah, Garnacha.
Okay, there we go.
So very dark looking grape too. It looks really cool.
Also spelled Grenache.
Oh, okay.
So, it's a very heavily planted, and Roja. Seems to, and Rhone. I mean, this is I've had this one.
Yeah, I think we have. I don't recall it being called this, but I think we have had it.
Yeah, the El Pastor.
Yeah. Okay.
They do when next time you go into a big Kroger, see if you can find the El Pastor Grenache. It's the one so they have a Tempranillo, and it's not as good as other ones, but their Grenache is what we use to cook for red wines.
Oh, okay.
It's very good, and it's a good sipping one. So yeah, this is a very spicy one, or a wine grape type. Yeah, so no, we've definitely had this one. Yeah,
yeah, I think.
So what are the flavors you're getting in this one?
So
the wine itself.
It is tannic. It does have a lot of those Tempranillo style tobacco and kind of leathery flavors. There's also like a spiciness to it, but not like baking spice, more like not pepper, but more.
That's the Grenache.
Yeah. So there is a peppery to it. It's a little bit savory, but it also has like ripe blackberries. Very good. I really like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's very similar to Old World. I think it's brambly a little bit.
Yeah,
you know how they say like kind of like
the way you're describing it. It sounds like the Tempranillo is the obviously, being 65% is the front flavor, but the back end is the other two.
Yeah. So what I think this has over a normal straight High Plains Tempranillo is a level of acidity. And a level of smoothness. So it is a lot smoother. And that may be the process. So let me tell you a little bit about the process because I thought this was interesting.
Okay.
So it says there was a 30% bleed off of juice to aid in concentration. I didn't know what that meant. So I looked it up. And something that they'll do with red wines sometimes is because red wines are fermented with the skins and the stems to add the tannicness and some of the acidity and some of the mineraliness and that sort of thing, what they'll do is they'll take some of the juice out and they'll use that juice to make a white wine.
Okay.
And that makes it the ratio of skins and stems to actual grape juice lower,
higher.
I guess higher. Yeah. So
yeah.
So it's more grapes and stems to juice, and that makes it a little bit more concentrated. So they bled off some of that. I'm not sure what they did with it, but I'm sure they made a white wine or something with it.
That would be so great. So, not to derail it, but this is the thing that, like, because alcohol is so heavily regulated to get to the anarchy part.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you could sell a wine pair. So it's two bottles fused together.
Okay.
Where the white that they produced by bleeding this off, assuming they actually produced a white off of it, is the other bottle.
That'd be really cool.
And it's a small bottle, like a sample bottle.
Yeah.
But like that's the combo. Like, so you could be like, this is that, and then this. Well, that's the problem is sometimes reds age longer, so maybe the white's already been consumed. But that would be a great pairing concept to me.
Yeah, I think that would be really neat. It would just be kind of cool to have it. Just to see, and also for people who are interested or kind of wanting to learn about it, that's a cool way to introduce that concept.
Yeah, it's like, look, we're going to explain every aspect of this.
Yeah. So then this was primed with Bordeaux yeast, so it didn't use Texas wild yeast. So that's going to add to the flavor as well. I don't know what it's adding specifically, but it's going to add to it. Then it was aged in French oak for 18 months, and then an additional 7 month in a neutral container, and then bottled February 1st, 2018.
So I think with Bordeaux yeast, you're going to get more, not necessarily like the GSM necessarily, but I think like Texas wild yeast because of, well, it depends on where in Texas. Because, Dallas wild yeast is definitely going to be more metropolitan yeast, let's say, because of all the stuff going on in Dallas.
Right.
But wild Texas yeast is probably more aggressive in its own way. I forget what I was listening to. Oh, no, it was your interview with the gentleman in Oregon.
Craig Camp.
And he was talking about the like how sometimes they'll introduce like a specific yeast, and that's because that's the yeast that does all the work.
Right.
So like I think that's kind of the idea is like you're getting some of the terroir of Bordeaux, and especially with a blend. Yeah, I think that's probably like a good leading foot. Whereas like the yeast that's going to finish it, it's not the normal yeast, but like you kind of get away from that. And this is my assumption about Texas yeast, and just like kind of like Virginia yeast.
Yeah.
Like for me, Virginia yeast is probably really fat and like survives on the moisture, whereas like High Plains, Texas, to me sounds like a drier environment.
I think it
Hampton
is.
Roads.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty much anywhere in Texas is drier than Hampton Roads.
That's true.
I mean, the coast, Houston, maybe not.
Yeah.
But being on the water in one of the most humid places ever, like that isn't the Caribbean or the South Pacific, but yeah. So I think I think it's going to give that kind of more structuredness to it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely very good. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's just kind of passing through. You can order it online. I'll put a link to the wine in the show notes page.
So let me ask this.
Yeah,
I'm not from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the powers of figuring out Total Wine's extra interesting things that you seem to do.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Ghent Total Wine just sucks.
Okay.
I mean, they're all very nice. It doesn't suck. How did you find this? Where did you get this? Like,
well,
if somebody's in Dallas.
So, it was, in Dallas, I don't know. I got
okay.
I got this when I was down in Hill Country.
Oh, did you get this directly from the winery itself?
Yeah. I just went in.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So when I was driving down that road that had like 8 million wineries on it, I just pulled off onto every one and just bought a bottle or two.
Oh,
so,
classic.
And these were expensive. I got another one from them too. I got a Viognier from them too. That after having this one, and also the lady gave me tastes of it. So the Viognier was very good, and this was super good. And then she also gave me one that I didn't care for, but I should have written down what it was because apparently it is. And also the guy from the Chisholm Trail Winery, the one that was just kind of like out in the middle of nowhere.
The biker bar one?
Yeah, the biker bar one.
Yeah.
So both that guy and this lady were both making, and I actually like the biker bar guys better than hers. They were making it out of, I can't remember what it's called, but it was the red grape varietal introduced in the 1600s by the Spanish monks into Texas.
Okay.
So it's a European grape that they brought over. Apparently it's not used very often anymore in Europe. It's sweet. It's semi-sweet, I guess. It's very, very Concord grapey tasting.
Okay.
Very interesting. And I liked it a lot. And that kind of, sort of on that note, yeah.
You liked it a lot?
I did like it. It was not. I liked it as far as like a glass of grape juice goes.
I was going to say, did you like the oddity, but not the wine?
Yeah,
so
like, that's why. That's why I didn't buy it.
Okay, so it's like it's kind of like if you're having like the unique Georgians.
Exactly. Yeah, it was interesting.
This may not be the wine style you like.
Yeah,
but you recognize the uniqueness of this,
right? Yeah, and that's what I guess that's what it was. It was like it was very similar to Concord grape juice. In its sweetness. It was alcoholic, but it was so smooth that it was basically juice. It was, but it was alcoholic too. But it wasn't
I'm really craving this thing now.
You'd probably like it. When you're down here, it was that winery's not too far away from where Childeberg's going to be. So maybe we can swing down there and grab a bottle.
We are going to be some busy fools.
I know. Yeah.
On that fact. Speaking of which, Jacob.
Yeah.
I know we have plugs. I know we have recorded things, but there is nothing more fantastic, better than when Tom and Bob struggle through segueing the Contra Cruise into their episodes. So why don't we one-up them yet again by having a more interesting segue, as in, what the heck is Childeberg?
Yeah, what the heck is Childeberg indeed? So Childeberg, as I've been billing it, is the premier free folk gathering in Texas. So it's going to be a lot of fun. As of this recording, we do still have very few campsites still available. They may not, once we release this, they may not be there anymore.
Or when the fantastic newsletter goes out.
Yep, that's right. I'm going to be trying to send out another newsletter this week. And it'll be out probably before this episode. So, but
I'm sure.
But it is going to be a lot of fun. It's at a lake. We do have the wine van, which you will be driving and visiting.
You stole my one glory of thunder. No.
Yeah. Yep. You have volunteered graciously to forego drinking earlier on in the day. I'm sure we'll make up for it later on in the day.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, it's just going to be like a lot of, like, the Friends Against Government are going to be there. Well, one of them, Carr, is going to be there.
Yes, my opportunity to meet Carr.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
And possibly, this is one of those things where if we can get you out here sometime in August, maybe, we'll see.
Yeah.
We might try to do a weekend get up, butt crack of dawn and try to get to New York and see Bird if he's
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel really bad that he's not going to be able to attend because, I mean, like, I know that you have put in the lion's share of work behind the scenes, and this is from my perspective, and this is not to knock Carr any idea anyway, because he came up with this idea and it's fantastic on getting this together. But like the fact that he's not going to get to go, like, because I know like if he was going, and this is not in like again not knocking him, like I think the amount of mental strain he would put himself under to try to promote and like just ride this thing, like to make it like Bird to like pump this up if he was able to go would just be through the roof. Like I don't think the guy would graduate. Like,
yeah, well, and he's got a lot of work to do in school, and he's doing real well from what I understand, or at least that's what he tells me.
I mean, there's like neither you or I think college is necessary, but like he's clearly devoted his time and energy into this, and while we both believe in the sunk cost fallacy, like I don't think that's the case for him. I think he's gonna do really well from that.
I think so too, and that's kind of the deal with college in general is you get out of it what you put into it, and
I got nothing. So.
Well.
But yeah, so June 8th and 9th.
Yep, June 8th
Texas.
And 9th. Texas, it's at Black Rock Park. If there are no campsites left, that's fine. There are other places for you guys to stay. There's some towns nearby with hotels. There are other campsites that you may be able to find a site for.
And here's the thing, like as long as you're not consuming, or if you consume and then do the appropriate sobering up. Believe me, if you're going to try to drive off, I will administer some road sobriety tests that involve yoga. So be prepared. And I may be drunkenly telling you to do things. So, hey, just know ahead of time.
Yeah.
We really don't want anybody coming down on us. But Jacob, we are going to be spending some time not necessarily at the campsite because, unfortunately, which we totally respect, it's their private property. They don't allow drinking on site.
That's right.
We will be hanging out in the state park next to it,
which is like 20. It's like 20 feet over. So
it's
very close.
It's not very far over.
Yeah. It's a county park actually.
Yeah.
So
Texas county. It's the size of most states.
That's true.
Well, so most states that aren't like Virginia.
Yeah.
Like
so I've got
lower than Virginia.
That's right. I've got a like a home base set up for that side. So we'll be putting down a very large tarp and a canopy for shade, so people can come and hang out on that side. It's also right next to the water, so you'll still be able to get in the water if you want to. But yes, they do not allow drinking on the camping side, and so we will be doing our drinking. We will
respect their property rights. It's totally acceptable that they don't. We wish they did, but we can certainly understand not taking the liability because people are so happy, which we are not. Yep. But yeah, so this is going to be one of those times, and I will tell this on the podcast.
Yep.
Since you have moved to Texas, this will be the first time I've seen you in person. So
that's right. Yeah,
expect some weird male bonding between Jacob and I because we haven't seen each other, and we used to see each other
every single
5 days out of 7.
Well, sometimes more. Yeah.
I was going to say, if not more than that. So it'll be the first time. We will definitely not be leaving Carr out of that. So Carr, if you're listening to this, prepare for the weirdness that is Jacob and I together. Sucker.
Well, and I think, and not just the weird, you and I started talking about this before the show, not just the weirdness of you and me, just the weirdness of, but it's like the happy weirdness of libertarians. So
I think it's like each one of us ooze like our own uniqueness and of liberty out of us. Yeah. And, we're not NPCs. So like, if the gentleman from, I hope he doesn't mind us calling him a gentleman, and I hope I'm right on that, who is coming from out of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Still able to come, hopefully. It's going to be, this is one of those things where if you can attend, we are accepting donations to kind of smooth out the cost, especially, things like the wine van and those sort of things to try to put a good foundation of being able to pay for the space and the use of these sort of things. So we'll always accept those. But Jacob, unlike the Contra Cruise, we are not going to hide the fact that this is not the last one.
That's right.
So next year, expect much larger things.
Yes.
And you should get it on the ground floor.
That's right. Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, get in, sign up for the newsletter, get in on the ground floor for this. Next year, we will be having speakers. We're going to be doing it not in conjunction, I guess, because they're not agreeing to this. I'm just doing it anyways.
In rivalry.
Yeah, well, in friendly rivalry, I guess, with the LNC, Libertarian National Convention. It's going to. I'm going to try to do it either. Well, I think I'm going to try to do it the last day and the trailing 2 days of it. That seems to be how it's going to work out.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I will tell you ahead of time, folks. Jacob doesn't know this. For those of you who attend the first one and can attend the second one, there are perks. There are advantages. Yeah. That is not to say that you will not have a blast on the dose, but we will definitely be glad to see our friends who we will possibly not have seen in years, or a year. Right. But, this is going to be it, folks. I mean, the Contra Cruise is the premier libertarian event. I'll have to say it.
Yeah.
The LNC is very interesting. If Murray Rothbard was alive, it would be the premier event. Yeah. Especially if he was attending. But the idea that you can have Tom and Bob in one place.
Oh yeah. At
a time. And then, whomever else is going to come. Yes, we understand that is the case. And we understand the LNC is going to be packed because Tom is going to be showing up and Dave Smith and those people are going to be showing up. The superior grapes, as we call them, will definitely be there. But for those of you who are outside of that, who are more than that, who are less than that, there's us.
Right, exactly.
We are going to be having a blast in Texas.
Right, we'll be having a blast. I'm going to try my best. I have a couple of different campsites in mind. They're all under 40 minutes away from where the LNC will be held. And so I think that it'll be good. If you want to spend your days at the LNC and you want to truck out to Childeberg at night and see what we've got going on, that's going to work out real well. But Childeberg 1 is also going to be outstanding, and we've got a lot of really fun, quirky, not even really inside jokes, but kind of Twitter things. This is really something that kind of evolved out of Twitter and between just Mason and you and me texting, just all of the ideas that we've come up with. We've got a lot of really fun stuff planned. And
plus, I'm going to drive a van.
Exactly, the wine van. How many libertarian events do you know go to a bunch of different wineries?
Yeah. So, people, just if you are attending and you're listening to this, most wineries don't necessarily have a dress code, but they have a respect code. So plan to be somewhat sober and don't smell like butthole.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
And it's hot in Texas, so it's
I'll have
easy.
the AC on in the van.
Right. All right, well, let's go ahead. I had a news article, but I'm going to probably save that for
I think the news article, to be honest, so everybody who doesn't necessarily, you son of a bitch, don't like the historical episodes where it's you and I together. This is much more of that format. I think that article personally, because we don't while Texas is in the heartland, because it's on a coast.
Yeah,
it has a little bit of a different status. I think that article really needs more of our time.
Okay.
So I think we should definitely save that one to the next episode.
Okay. I'll save it for then. I'm going to go ahead and save my other wine for a mini episode, which actually you may hear before this episode because I haven't recorded a mini in a while. Let me go ahead and real quickly cap this beer because I'm a real big fan of this brewery right now. It's from Oklahoma City. It's called Roughtail Brewery. I got a big variety pack of all of their different beers. Some of them are limited edition. This one is
very jealous.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'll make sure that I'll have some for you, Mason, when you come out. This one is really interesting. It's called Mosaic Milkshake, and it is
wait.
So, exactly. That's the same
Mosaic Milkshake.
Yes.
Okay, so if I have to guess. It's a milk stout.
Okay.
But there's a twist, not necessarily like vanilla, but when I hear mosaic, I hear something lighter.
Yeah.
Almost like a cinnamon, kind of that, this color of a lot of things that are cinnamon, that's kind of like almost a coffee color.
Yeah.
As opposed to the stout where you could almost be black or almost like a soy sauce color.
Well, that's a really, really good guess. But you're incorrect. But
Go figure.
I'm going to tell you why it's a good guess. So this is actually an IPA with vanilla and lactose.
Really?
Yeah.
Lactose.
Really, yeah. So very unusual. It tastes very much like a hoppy stout.
That sound like so. Just so everybody knows, I thought about pausing the episode and getting a Yingling because I wanted an additional alcoholic drink, but I didn't want to open the final rose I had because that is much more alcoholic than I wanted at the moment. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just desiring this milky
yeah,
IPA.
It's very good. I don't think I've had anything exactly like this before. I also don't think I've had anything with lactose in it before. I maybe have, but I don't recall.
Yeah, to be honest, like I think you probably have had something that may have had lactose in it, but I don't think it was a feature of it.
Well, for those of you who are in the Dallas area, this is from Rough Tail. They're actually out of Oklahoma City, but they do have a distributor here, so you should be able to get this beer. It's very good. Again, it's a Mosaic milkshake. It's IPA with vanilla and lactose, and it's by Rough Tail Brewing. I really like this one. I'm hoping to have somebody from this brewery on the show at some point to just kind of talk about. There's a lot of weird laws in Texas and Oklahoma, actually.
So, Jacob, real quick. Did Alabaster from the OKC deliver this to you?
He did, yep.
Alabaster.
Right, Alabaster from the OKC.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, anytime Jacob and I can reference King of the Hill, we did. So, now I will say, I really would like to hear, and I mean, like I would be willing to sacrifice a couple episodes to hear about the combination that went into this.
Yeah.
Like, not only the name. Like, the name is great, but the combination of deciding that I'm going to do an IPA, well, in Hampton Roads, IPAs are the thing, so that's fine. But to be like, I need to be unique. Now, as you said, part of this pack, there were some limited releases. Is this a limited release from them? Do you know?
He told me that. I actually got this directly from one of the people who works there, but he told me
No, you got this from Alabaster.
Yeah, from Alabaster, that's right. He told me the ones with a sticker are the ones that are the limited release. This one does. Okay. It seems like it has a sticker on it, but it's hard for me to tell. It looks like, because it's similar to the other ones that I know are not. Like this one has it looks almost like a like one of those plastic covers. So I think it's a sticker because some of the other ones don't have it exactly like this, but it's similar. So I think this might be a limited release.
Okay.
I'm gonna text him though after the show and tell him. I'm going to tell Alabaster that this one I really, really like. So if
he's just a courier. You don't got to tell him crap.
That's true. It's very good.
Tell the producer that Alabaster did a good job, but I need to know more about this.
Right? Because this is a very good one. They've got a couple of other really interesting ones. I've got a couple of imperial stouts from them that are. One of them is an imperial stout that is aged on coconut chips. So that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, a lot of stouts seem to be going. Like coconut, which coconut's not a huge thing for me.
Okay,
but my wife really likes coconut, and I really like stout. Yeah. So anything where she's like, "Oh, this is a good stout," I'm kind of for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got some good ones, and when you come out here, Mason, we're gonna definitely be trying a lot of different things. So.
I'm going to need to be drinking like 3 gallons of water before this trip.
Well, one of the things I actually thought about. Here's another Childeberg thing. I thought about maybe getting like gigantic cases of Pedialyte. And bringing it down with us.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where like I thought about like just stacking the back of the van.
Yeah.
With like cheap Walmart coolers, just full of ice.
Yeah.
And then buying like those gallon-sized Deer Park water jugs.
Oh yeah.
And
well,
just being like, look, I'm not telling you people to drink water. I'm just recommending you do.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, like, both you and I have a tendency to overconsume, but we also know our limits, and especially in the heat. Yeah. Like, so.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to be bringing. Well, we're for sure going to have a lot of water there for anybody who is just curious about that. There is.
Well, I mean, there's a lake.
Yeah. There's a lake, and there is plumbing there. There's a shower house and a bathroom and drinking fountains. But for those of you who don't want gross. County water or whatever it is. Actually, it may be fine. I don't know, but
it's probably really good because it's probably like super untreated.
Yeah,
by
probably.
comparison.
Yeah, but yeah, so we'll have that there too, and and also because we know this group, like you and I have done a lot of libertarian meetings and stuff like that, where we have way overconsumed. And
but we're like the only ones.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like libertarians are usually pretty good at
responsible.
Yeah, pretty responsible, not being and pretty good at not being absolutely ridiculous. So, well, being ridiculous, but in a different way, not being ridiculous to something. Yeah,
ridiculous on all fronts.
That's true. I mean, how many people do you know went and grabbed the rent money to buy a bunch of mushrooms that they never got?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
when you invest in the black market, you never know.
That's true. That's why we need to make that market not black.
I mean, to be like Denver is talking about being the first city, which
to decriminalize psilocybin. That is a big deal. And actually, you know who's talking about that soon is a Childeberg attendee.
Ooh.
Mr. Sue. That's right. Yeah. So he's either he's done it recently or he's got an episode coming out soon. I think that is about Denver. I briefly was in a Twitter conversation with him and actually Denver Libertarians. So shout out to Denver Libertarian. He might actually be coming down too. But that they've got the psilocybin legislation going through to decriminalize. So that would be not only good for people who want to use it recreationally, but people who are either in terminal care or have PTSD very badly. I mean, it's a lot of medical uses for it.
Like psilocybin is one of those things where, under the right circumstances, I will never call anything a cure-all.
Yeah,
but the medical benefits to tripping, especially under psilocybin in a not necessarily a low dose situation, but like a medium dose situation.
Yeah, like a guided situation.
Yeah, there are a lot of just pure benefits that we're seeing, like from depression to suicidal thoughts and aberrations, where it's like
addiction. That's a big one.
And here's the thing, and this is one of those kind of weird thoughts. I think there are people who are addicted to suicidal thoughts.
That's not a weird thought. Let's close on this actually, because this is my newest theory about politics.
Okay.
So there are. I know this from my situation in the past for various situations where I've had people that were very difficult who I cared about a lot and that were in my life that were very difficult because they were so incredibly self-destructive. And for a very long time, I couldn't figure out why. Like, why would they do this to themselves and the people around them and stuff? And because I'm Jacob and this is the way I deal with everything is... Because
you're essentially autistic, but not.
Right, exactly. I just read and just read. And it turns out there is a chemical... You can get addicted to cortisol and other stress-related hormones. The same way you can get addicted to dopamine. And and cortisol does have a very similar effect to dopamine at first, but it also leads to depression and gaining weight and various other things. But people who have very destructive personalities oftentimes have very high elevated levels of cortisol and other stress-related hormones, and they are addictive. And so they will continue to do things, whether they know it or not, they will continue to do things that are self-destructive to get a release of cortisol. And the stuff that they do will maybe seem very crazy to you, and later on they regret it. But at the time, they need that fix.
Yeah, and that's the thing about most super psychoactive chemicals, because marijuana has its own, like, if you've never done anything, marijuana is a very psychoactive drug.
Yeah.
But if you've done, like, DMT, it's not.
No, not at all.
Like, you can certainly, like, and that's the thing is, like, if you have a DMT experience and you didn't intend to, marijuana can continue to be a very psychoactive drug.
Right.
But if you, like, if you seek DMT experiences, like, it's different. But, like, that's the thing about, like, psilocybin compared to DMT is and just like LSD, it not permanently almost, but it's almost like it's permanently changes how your mind, like, there's that event and then there's the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, there are, like, 5-MeO, like, some of the, like, super kind of nasty chemical ones.
Yeah. The one from the toads is, I think it's 5-MeO.
Yeah.
And that one's very intense.
That one's not as bad, but like some of the super chemical, like the
like from like Pharmawaska, which is I can't remember what they mix it with, but it doesn't, like a normal DMT trip is under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
A Pharmawaska trip can be hours, and I can't imagine, like from my experiences with DMT, I can't imagine tripping for that long.
Well, you know me, I'd be like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you would. Yeah, I'm sure you would.
but
like, let me get back to though my theory real quick before I forget about it. So that's something I learned in the past, and I find that very interesting. And now I think about that when I think about people's motivation, is how much of what people do is motivated by chemical releases in their body. Now, there's another thing going on, and they've been doing a lot of studies of this as well, which is the chemical release of dopamine and cortisol, depending on the situation, of your phone buzzing in your pocket.
Yes.
And so, because people get a dopamine release from connecting with people on social media, and the buzz is then associated with it, and they've also tied this to, they call them phantom vibrations, and that is where you think your phone vibrates in your pocket, so you check it, because it does give you a very small dopamine release, even though you didn't get a message.
Yeah, I've broken myself of that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I did is stop carrying my phone in my pocket. So
I never did that, but I only text really two people consistently.
Yeah.
And it's you and my wife.
Right.
But because of our work environment, the work environment that you previously worked in and the work environment I work in currently, it's not an issue if I get the notifications. It's an issue if the people around me do. Right. So therefore, I moderate my behavior, which also helps my work productivity. Right. But, I'm also, like, you've got to get work done, and I've got to get work done, and my wife's got to get work done. It's not like any of the three of us are unemployed. Right. So, like, I don't have that phantom issue like I used to, but mainly because my phone's on silent so often. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I've turned off like all levels of notification almost, and this is kind of this is not necessarily a reason why like if you're ever on our Twitter, Tasting Anarchy on Twitter, it's not the reason. Jacob's the one who manages that mainly, but like I just like I don't need to see the notification like anymore. It's like my parents text me and things like that, but I don't have any anxiety like I used to. Right. And, like I noticed, and I was unintentional. Like I just turned it off, and I'm like, it happens.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I think is my most recent theory or whatever about the elections is that if the Democrats don't put somebody up that is incredibly polarizing, they will lose. And the reason they will lose is not because they have better policies or worse policies, or Trump's better or worse. It's that Trump invokes cortisol and dopamine releases in people through his actions. And even if they don't support Trump, if the Never Trumpers, I believe, will secretly vote for him in order to continue their fix.
So the only pushback I have on that is Hillary won the popular vote.
Yes, that's true.
And there are candidates that the Democrats could run who are not running that will pull well in those places.
Well, that's true. I'm curious to see what. So the one person that I could see the Democrats, and I think this is the correct strategy. If I was a Democrat strategist, I would say whoever you really want to run, do not enter them into the race until 2 or 3 debates in the primaries. The way I would do it if I was the Democrats is I would enter Oprah Winfrey in after the 3rd debate.
I don't think they can run a popular candidate who doesn't have political experience.
I think they can, and I think they could do it with Oprah because I think people would get out and vote. But if they do somebody like and they're not going to do this, it's kind of clear to me that they are already kind of doing the same thing to Bernie that they did the first time. And he's a lunatic, and also I don't think he wants to win. Like the way he talks.
No, he he would kill himself if he won.
I think so too. I think he's after more money because he
I
makes.
I don't necessarily think he's after more money. I think he's like Rand Paul. Rand Paul's not his dad. His dad could handle the stress of the office. Rand feels it too close.
That could be.
Where Bernie understands what the stress of the office does. Because I feel like he knew enough people who have tried to do it, really tried to do it.
Right.
And been like, no. That's not who I am.
Right. Well, this is the way that I see it. And this will be kind of the summary, and then we can do closing.
Well, I've got a candidate that I'll suggest, and we'll see from there after you go through yours.
So my summary is that the majority of the nation at this point, whether Democrats or Republicans, suffer from battered wife syndrome toward the government. And if there is not a polarizing figure or a figure that is going to give them the biochemical release that they need, they will not get out and vote for them. They will have no motivation. And so this is a huge advantage that I think Trump has because people hate him so much.
And people hate the fact that they hate him so much.
Yeah, exactly. And that stress and that release of cortisol in their system, I think, is going to drive them to go and vote for him. If for no other maybe not even to vote for him, but to go and vote. But I don't see them going out and pulling the lever for like Beto.
Yeah,
because he's so vanilla and neutral.
So I think personally, he's flappable.
Okay.
And all of the Democratic candidates are flappable except for Tulsi Gabbard.
That's, I mean, other than her crazy, everything else besides her foreign policy. I love her foreign policy, but everything else.
That's about it. Yeah. But that's the thing. She's not flappable. It's hard to push her off balance. She just doesn't hit back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to propose the dark horse candidate.
Okay.
Jim Webb.
He's actually would be
very interesting. Lunatic.
He is a lunatic. That's right.
But he is unflappable.
Yeah.
So Trump could get up there and be like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, here's why you're factually incorrect.
Yeah. And then he'd be like, and I killed the guy.
But that's the thing is like, and he's like, and I killed, 8 people with a grenade or whatever it was. Yeah. Like, Jim Webb is one of those guys where he's unflappable.
Yeah.
He's milquetoast where, you're not going to find a blackface. He's not Ralph Northam. You're not going to find a blackface picture from him.
Right.
He's just that combination of Democrat where it's like he's big on the military. He has the veteran support.
Yeah.
Because, he's a veteran.
Right.
Was possibly going to be, a Trump Defense Department. He was considered pretty heavily, supposedly, by the, outsiders from the Trump administration. And he's not so polarizing that people are switching back. Yeah. Because people seem to be like if you listen to Malice and things like that, people are turning conservative and stuff like that. He's that classic mix of Democrat,
well, he was a Republican until 2006.
Yeah, he's a Virginian Democrat,
right.
Where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to tear down the Confederate statues. Why? It's like, look, I'm not going to fight the people who want to fight over this. You guys can go deface them. We're going to clean them up. We're not going to arrest you. Yeah.
Well, and he does. He's also got enough nostalgia too. Wasn't he Secretary of the Navy under Reagan?
Yes.
So he's got that where he was in the Reagan administration. He's a Democrat.
And that's the thing is he's in the pocket of the deep state.
Yeah.
He has enough, but that's the thing is you don't have to go out of your way to produce the deep state backing for him. He's already got it. They know him. Mm-hmm. He's this dark horse candidate where he's not a socialist, but he's not necessarily against all of that stuff. He fits this mold that kind of like George W. did, where Al Gore was really pushing a flippin' crazy message.
Yeah.
But he was doing it in the Planck system.
Right.
So you could listen to what normal Al Gore was saying out of his mouth, which was bananas, or you could listen to the Plancks from the Democratic Party, and you're like, well, that's what they're going to vote for.
Right.
And that's what they're going to do, which we all have found out later. The Plancks are bullshit. But that's the reason that was the last election. But he's that classic George Bush where it's like, no. He could just literally come out as the voice of sanity. It's like, look, socialism didn't work. We literally watched the Soviet Union tear itself apart.
Right.
Never mind the CIA basically engineered the entire thing.
Yeah.
Never mind, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, the war in Iraq was a mistake. Joe Biden, and this is the thing that I didn't know, Joe Biden was ahead of basically the kingmaker in the Senate at the time for wars.
Yeah.
And pushed through the, Second Iraq War. So, Joe, he can literally destroy all of these people except for this rabid socialist base. Like, the only people I see him having a problem with is Sanders and Gabbard because they stand for something.
Right.
And Jim Webb has stood for the things he stood for quite a while. Like, he's not a flip-flopper as far as I know. So he's not like Beto where it's just like, whatever's popular.
Right.
Like, and he's not like whatever that gay mayor is or whatever.
Yeah, Buttigieg, I think his name is. Buttigieg or Buttigieg.
Pete? I think they call him Mayor Pete or something.
Mayor Pete.
Yeah. He's not a lunatic. And he's also one of those guys where, like, I think Jim Webb could come up and, like, go into, I will call her, everybody calls her AOC, but I like calling her by her second last name because it pisses her off.
Oh, yeah.
Cortez. He could go in her office and shut her up. It's like, look.
You're a dummy. Yeah.
Here's all of the stupid things you've said. Here's all of the things that prove you're wrong. I could torch you, and I can do it in a way that you will never understand how you literally lost the spotlight because I own the media, or you can get in line.
Yeah.
And it's your choice, and you can release this conversation. It's not going to hurt me. Like, if Bernie tried to do that, it'd be like the death of Bernie because they would be going out for him. But Jim Webb, like, he's literally he's the dark horse candidate. Anyone else I can think, like, I'm sure the Democrats have 100 dark horse candidates like Jim Webb, from Clinton administration officials and those sort of people that they could run. But he's the only one where I'm like, he's still kicking around. Like, it's not like Jim Webb's inactive.
That's true. Well, I think that's a good prediction to end on. I think we've actually done all of our plugs, but let's go ahead and do them one more time. Follow us at Tasting Anarchy. You can email me, tastinganarchy@gmail.com. If you want to ask Mason a question, I will get that to him. Go to our website, tastinganarchy.com, and you can take advantage of our last bottle wine sale, which that's another one we wanted to get into today, but we just talked so long about our wines that
and other fun things.
So I think that's a great place to wrap, Mason.
Well, real quick,
sure.
We have two friend podcasts that we both have. Well, one of which we both have been on. The other, one of us hasn't.
I've been on one of them twice.
Oh, yes, you have, but you're an emergency guest who can fill in at times.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing with the mini episodes. I can manage 7 minutes, whereas you apparently at one point can manage, an hour and 40 or something like that. So Friends Against Government, also known as the Fadcast, Car and Bird, you can always listen to them. And then also Sounds Like Liberty, Nikki P and his wonderful wife, Lizzie. If you're listening, interested in some music reviews, theories, because I can't hear music the way they do, it's over my head 90% of the time, but they have wonderful, great, and illuminating conversations about music and with people about their musical tastes. Apparently, you and I were like the only people who don't like the Beatles. Well, you like the Beatles. I
like the Beatles, yeah.
I don't care for them, but neither of us talked about them.
Yeah, I just don't bring it up. But they've in subsequent episodes talked about how interesting you and I are. Musically separately, but as a couple, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Brother and brother.
As like brothers in, friendship and broadcasting.
Exactly. So
it's funny. But also one more show that I will actually be on very soon is.
We also I feel bad about this.
Oh,
we don't promote Mr. Sue. We talk about him every episode, but we don't. The Mr. Sue,
Mr. Sue, the pseudo intellectual on. alternative internet radio, which is also Dino's. He's got the Dino Files and a couple of other shows that I don't listen to the other shows, but the Dino Files is very good. And Mr. Sue's show, The Pseudo Intellectual, is very good. And then one more show that I'm going to be on either this week or next week. I have to message him because I can't remember when. The Rollo and Slappy show. Rollo McFrugal will be at Childeberg, and so I'm sure that we will be talking about Childeberg on the next episode of Rollo and Slappy.
Oh, I am sure. Or maybe not the next episode, but the one that you appear on.
Yeah,
who knows how they release our episode?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure how they do it either. But
so, Jacob, real quick, remind listeners, what is the winery and wine you were drinking tonight?
I was drinking, the winery is called, or it's a consortium or whatever it's called, I'm going to try to pronounce this again. Vinovium. Yeah, Vinovium.
I like it.
Yep. The wine is called Sketch. It's a red blend from Texas. Super good. What were you drinking, Mason?
I was drinking Primi Soli, Trebbiano.
I think it's Trebbiano or Trebbiano.
Highly well-produced white grapes that apparently, neither of us can pronounce correctly. But either way, mine, not bad. As I got more into the bottle, I got into familiar flavors, definitely high acidity, but not red acidity. It's the white acidity, so there's definitely some sweetness on there. Definitely a good dry white, but a varietal of grape that I plan to explore after I'm done trying to find every vignette on the planet, because vignettes are great as well.
Yeah. All right, well, that's a great place to end. From me, stay free.
Stay free, everybody.
Once a year, the world's power brokers meet in secret at a heavily secured facility and discuss the fate of regular people like you. This meeting is known as the Bilderberg.
But you don't have to worry about that, because you're going to Childeberg. Childeberg is the premier gathering of free folk in Texas, held at the beautiful Black Rock Park on the banks of refreshing Buchanan Lake in Llano County.
Childeberg 2019, June 8th and 9th.
Chill in the lake.
Make new friends with liberty lovers like you.
Enjoy camping in the great outdoors.
Hop in the wine van and visit the local wineries. Participate in podcasting magic and much, much more. Email us at tastinganarchy@gmail.com or reach out to us at Childeberg on Twitter for additional details. Childeberg 2019, June 8th and 9th. I'll see you there.